Agency owners who are stuck think that they need to work harder, right? And so they do longer hours, more pressure on the team, more personal output, and the agency still doesn't grow. And that's not a discipline problem. And here's the truth. Most real estate agencies aren't actually agencies. They're a collection of individuals running their own version of the business inside one brand. And in that model, every stage of growth just adds more weight to the owner, not more capacity. So you can't outwork a structural ceiling. And in this video, I'll show you exactly why that ceiling exists and what changes when you structure it right. Most real estate agencies operate under a foundational misunderstanding, and it's holding them back. They aren't truly agencies in the traditional sense of a unified, cohesive business. Instead, what we often see is more like a collection of individual micro-businesses operating under one brand umbrella. This agent-centric model is the root of so many frustrations. Each agent you see is essentially a solo entrepreneur within the larger agency. They're developing their own unique way of doing things, their own database management, their preferred follow-up sequences, their personal prospecting tactics, and ultimately, their very individual approach to client experience. This extreme fragmentation, while seemingly offering autonomy, quietly funnels all inconsistencies and operational gaps directly to one person. Can you guess who that is? Precisely, it's the owner. This fragmented structure, by its very design, demands that the agency owner constantly work harder, not smarter. They become the central hub for every single issue that arises from these disconnected operations. Every little inconsistency, every missed step, every gap in the workflow, it all routes back to the owner's desk. It becomes their problem to identify, their problem to solve, their problem to firefight. This isn't a character flaw or a failure of effort on the owner's part. It's a completely predictable, almost inevitable outcome of relying on this agent-centric fragmented business model. The structure itself creates the demand for the owner's superhuman effort. Let's be brutally honest for a moment. Most agency owners are carrying an absolutely abundant amount of responsibilities already. We're talking compliance, complex prospecting strategies, managing technology platforms, administrative tasks, team management across various personalities, and of course the core client work itself. They're often drowning in these operational tasks long before they even get to the strategic high-level work they're actually supposed to be doing to drive growth. This isn't about a lack of willpower or not trying hard enough. This isn't a personal failing. This is, at its core, a structural problem within the business model itself, a structure that inadvertently sets them up for overwhelm. So, when revenue inevitably plateaus, which it always does in this model, the natural human instinct is to push harder, to work more, to try more, to put in more hours. But here's the crucial insight. In a fragmented, agent-centric model, simply adding more effort doesn't solve the underlying problem. It just means the owner ends up taking on even more of the tasks that the business's structure should be handling automatically. It's like trying to bail out a leaky boat with a bigger bucket instead of patching the leak. You're addressing the symptom, but you're not fixing the deeper structural flaw, and this leads to a predictable, disheartening cycle. Consider this. When you decide to grow by hiring more agents, what actually happens? You're not necessarily adding cohesive, integrated capacity. What you're often doing is bringing in more independent operators, each with their own unique methods, habits, and preferences. This doesn't reduce fragmentation. It actually increases it. More agents in this model simply means more individual businesses under your roof, leading to more inconsistencies, more varied client experiences, and ultimately even more points of failure or gaps that will inevitably route back to the owner for resolution. It's not a path to scalable growth. And what about the common response of working longer hours? While admirable in its dedication in a fragmented structure, this simply makes the owner the bottleneck at an even higher volume. Think about it. If every decision, every problem, every deviation from the ideal process still needs your personal intervention, then doing more just means you are now dealing with a larger quantity of these problems. You're not building a system that can run without you. You're just increasing the pressure on the existing flawed system, with you at the absolute center of it, absorbing all the strain. This isn't a sustainable path to true scale. Then there's the strategy of pushing the team harder. You might see some short-term spikes in activity or even revenue. People respond to pressure at least for a while. But this approach rarely creates lasting infrastructure. It doesn't build robust systems, improve foundational processes, or create automation that alleviates future burdens. It's a temporary burst of energy, often fueled by stress and personal effort, rather than a genuine improvement in the business's underlying operational capacity. So while you might hit a target briefly, you haven't actually raised the ceiling, you've just leaned on it harder for a moment. Many owners, understandably, seek help through coaching. And coaching can be incredibly valuable. It can help you clearly identify the problems, understand the dynamics of your fragmented model, and even envision a better way forward. But here's the twist. In this agent-centric setup, even with the clearest understanding of what needs to change, the owner often still has to bear the entire burden of implementing the fix. The coach provides the map, but the owner remains the sole driver, the navigator, and the mechanic. The responsibility for transformation still sits squarely on their shoulders, which can be exhausting. So let's be absolutely clear on what's truly happening here. The ceiling isn't about a lack of effort. It's not about you personally not trying hard enough or not being smart enough. It's fundamentally about what the business is structurally built to do. A fragmented model, by its very nature, has an inherent hard ceiling. It limits growth and efficiency, regardless of how much effort or willpower anyone pours into it. You can push, you can strain, you can work yourself ragged, but that structural ceiling will remain firmly in place, preventing true scalable growth. It's time to redefine the obstacle. Now let's explore what the alternative looks like. Imagine a truly centralized agency. In this model, the engine of the business, the core operational processes, the client journey, the sales cycle, run smoothly, consistently, and effectively, whether the owner is physically in the building or not. This is not some distant dream, because there is one sales system, not 10 different versions. There is one operational rhythm, not a chaotic mix. There is one consistent client experience, not a varied one depending on which agent handles the file on any given day. This coherence is the key. In this centralized model, the agency's most valuable asset, its database, is no longer sporadically worked by individual agents when they have time or feel like it. Instead, the database is worked consistently, systematically, and optimally by a dedicated specialized team. This team's sole focus is to nurture leads, maintain relationships, and identify opportunities within that database. It's not dependent on the agent's best days or their personal discipline. It's an ongoing, methodical process that ensures no opportunity is left dormant and no client feels forgotten. This ensures the engine is always fed. Similarly, prospecting transforms. It moves from being a personality-dependent, often hit-or-miss activity to a systematic, predictable, and scalable process. It's not about relying on a star agent's charisma for new leads. It's about implementing proven strategies, tools, and workflows that generate consistent, qualified leads for the entire team. This means diversifying lead sources, optimizing funnels, and automating initial outreach so that the flow of potential clients is steady and reliable, not tied to the varying efforts of individuals. It's about building a machine, not just relying on individual heroics. Lead follow-up, a critical component of any sales process, also shifts dramatically. In a fragmented model, follow-up often happens by memory, or more accurately, when an agent remembers or has the bandwidth. This leads to missed opportunities and inconsistent client experiences. In a centralized agency, follow-up happens by process. Automated sequences, clear communication protocols, and dedicated support staff ensure that every lead, every client, every inquiry receives timely, professional, and consistent communication, regardless of who initially engaged with them. It's about reliability and consistency, not personal recall. One of the most significant advantages of centralization is the complete visibility and measurability of performance. When everything runs on a single system, with clear processes, performance metrics become clear across the entire team. You can easily track lead conversion, client satisfaction, agent efficiency, and overall team output. This transparency allows for proactive identification of bottlenecks, data-driven decision-making, and targeted training. You can see what's working, what's not, and precisely where to intervene. It shifts from guesswork to strategic management based on hard data. Now here's where it gets really interesting for the agents themselves. In this centralized model, an agent's role narrows significantly. It focuses specifically on what requires their license, their unique expertise, their negotiation skills, their ability to connect with clients face-to-face and close deals. Everything else, the grunt work, the repetitive tasks, the administrative burden, the lead qualification, the initial content delivery, the consistent follow-up, all of that is handled by the robust infrastructure behind them. This frees agents to do what they're best at, making them more effective, more focused, and ultimately, more valuable. Let's summarize this profound shift. Before centralized infrastructure, growth often creates chaos. You add more agents, you get more problems routing to you, you get more inconsistencies. The business becomes harder to manage, more burdensome. But after implementing centralized infrastructure, something magical happens. Growth creates capacity. The more you grow, the more efficient your systems become, the more specialized your teams get, and the more freed up the owner becomes.
The only significant difference between these two scenarios is literally how you've structured your business. It's a structural choice, not a fate. Operating in a fragmented model doesn't just hold you back today, it compounds over time. Every month that passes with this structure means another month of inconsistent revenue streams, another month of avoidable workload piled onto the owner, and more missed opportunities quietly accumulating in your dormant database. The structural ceiling doesn't simply resolve itself with time. In fact, it becomes more entrenched, more rigid, and its negative effects multiply, making the eventual necessary changes feel even more daunting. This isn't a problem that diminishes, it's one that grows. The fix, therefore, isn't about finding a better version of what the owner is already doing. It's not about tweaking your personal habits or trying a new time management technique. The fundamental solution lies in removing the owner from the day-to-day operational layer of the business. And you achieve this by intentionally installing the centralized infrastructure that should have been doing that work all along. It's a strategic withdrawal from the trenches to become the architect of a more resilient, scalable enterprise. This is the crucial shift in mindset and action that unlocks true growth. Here's the powerful paradigm-shifting insight we want you to take with you. You don't need to work harder to break through your growth ceiling. That's a misdirection. What you truly need is for the business itself to stop fundamentally depending on you working hard. These are two profoundly different problems, demanding two profoundly different solutions. One focuses on your personal output, the other focuses on the entire system's output. Understanding this distinction is the first most crucial step toward finally building the scalable, thriving agency you envisioned. It's about system, not just struggle.
If this is the problem you are dealing with, then there's more information in the description below, including how to have a conversation with us about what fixing the structure looks like in your business. I'll see you in the next one.